One girl, one midnight journey, one choice she could never take back. At a forbidden stream, she was given 2 calabashes, one big, one small. She chose the smaller one and became richer than anyone in the village. But when another followed, blinded by greed, what came out was something far worse than poverty. If you love powerful African folk tales filled with mystery, suspense, and deep lessons, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Now, let's dive in. In the quiet village of Amadike, where red earth roads curled like sleeping snakes and palm trees swayed in the whisper of the wind, lived a young girl named Adana. Her name meant father's daughter, and once, long ago, it was spoken with joy. Adana had not always known sorrow. As a child, she was wrapped in warmth. Her mother, Unkem, had been a gentle woman whose laughter flowed like a calm river. But when Adana was barely 5 seasons old, a strange sickness crept into their home. It had no name, no cure, no mercy. Within weeks, it carried Unkem away. The villagers spoke in hushed tones. "Some spirits take without warning," they said. Adana never understood. All she knew was that her mother stopped waking up. Her father, Obinna, tried to remain strong. He carried grief like a heavy basket on his back, but he still smiled for his daughter. He cooked for her, braided her hair clumsily, and told her stories under the moonlight. But loneliness is a powerful thing. Within a year, Obinna married again. The woman's name was Mama Ifunanya, and she came with soft words and kind hands. She cared for Adana like her own child, feeding her, clothing her, and even singing the songs Unkem used to sing. For a while, peace returned. Soon, Mama Ifunanya gave birth to a daughter named Chisom. The house was filled with new laughter. Adana carried her baby sister on her back, danced with her, and whispered secrets into her tiny ears. They were sisters. Or so Adana believed. Years passed like drifting clouds, until the day everything broke. It was market day. Obinna climbed a tall palm tree to tap fresh wine, as he had done many times before. The villagers watched as he scaled the tree with ease. Then, a slip, a cry, a fall. The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed like thunder. He died before anyone could reach him. No last words, no warning, no goodbye. And just like that, Adana became alone again. But this time, there was no gentle mother to soften the pain. After Obinna's burial, something changed. It began slowly, like a shadow creeping at sunset. Mama Ifunanya no longer called Adana my daughter. Her voice grew sharp. Her eyes, once warmed, turned cold. Chisom, who once clung to Adana with laughter, began to mimic her mother. "Why are you sitting?" Mama Ifunanya would snap. "Go and fetch water. Why is the floor still dirty? Do you think food cooks itself?" Adana became the house's shadow. She woke before the rooster crowed. She swept, cooked, fetched water from the distant stream, washed clothes until her fingers wrinkled, and still endured harsh words. Food became a reward, not a right. Rest became a luxury she could not afford. At night, she lay on a thin mat clutching her late mother's old Ankara cloth, the only thing she had left of Unkem. She whispered into it, "Mother, can you see me?" But the cloth never answered. One evening, after a long day of chores, Adana's body trembled with exhaustion. Still, Mama Ifunanya stood before her, arms folded.
"You have not finished pounding the yam," she said coldly. I will do it, Mama," Adana replied softly. "You will do it now." Chisom stood behind her mother, smirking. "Maybe if she worked faster, she wouldn't look like a ghost," she muttered. Adana said nothing. She simply lowered her head. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And then came the night that would change everything. The moon was high and pale when Mama Ifunanya shook Adana awake. "Get up!" Adana blinked, confused. "It is midnight, Mama." "Exactly," her stepmother replied. "We have no water. Go to the stream." Adana's heart pounded. "The stream? At this hour? Please, I'm scared." A sharp slap cut her words short. "You will go," Mama Ifunanya barked, "or you will not return to this house at all." Tears filled Adana's eyes. but she knew better than to argue. With trembling hands, she picked up her clay pot and stepped into the darkness. The night was alive with sounds. Crickets chirped. Owls hooted. The wind whispered through the trees like unseen voices. Every step felt heavier than the last. Adana's breath came in short bursts. Still, she walked. When she finally reached the stream, she froze. Someone was there. An old woman, very old. Her back was bent like a broken branch, her hair white as ash, and her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Fear gripped Adana's chest. She almost ran. "Do not be afraid," the old woman said gently. Her voice was strange, yet calming. "I have been waiting." "Waiting for me?" Adana stammered. "Yes," the woman smiled. "I am the keeper of this stream. I appear at this hour for those who are chosen." Adana's fear slowly softened into curiosity. The old woman raised her hands. In them were 2 calabashes, one large, one small. "Inside these," she said, "are gifts. Choose one. But remember, what you receive will reflect your heart." Adana hesitated. She looked at the large calabash, shiny, tempting, then at the small one, simple, humble. She closed her eyes briefly. "I choose this one," she said, picking the smaller calabash. The old woman's smile widened. "A pure heart does not shout," she said softly. "It listens." She handed Adana the calabash. "When you get home, hide it where no one can see. Tomorrow morning, before speaking to anyone, lock yourself in your room and break it. What you truly desire will be revealed." Adana nodded. "Thank you, Mama." She hurried home, clutching the calabash like a secret. The house was silent. Carefully, she slipped inside and hid it under her wooden bed, covering it with her mother's Ankara cloth. That night, she barely slept. Hope danced in her chest. Morning came like a promise. Adana awoke with a strange excitement. Today felt different. She retrieved the calabash and whispered a small prayer. "Please, let this be good." Then, she broke it. The moment it shattered, a brilliant light burst forth, filling the room. Adana gasped. When the light faded, she froze. Before her lay treasures beyond imagination. Fine clothes, jewelry that sparkled like captured stars, gold, precious stones, everything she had ever dreamed of and more.
Tears streamed down her face, not of sorrow, but of overwhelming joy. In that moment, her life changed. Word spread quickly through Amadike. The girl who was once treated like nothing had become something greater than anyone could imagine. People began to respect her. Adana, however, did not forget kindness. She moved out of her father's house and built a life of dignity and grace. She helped the poor, fed the hungry, and smiled with the same gentle heart that led her to choose the smaller calabash. But not everyone rejoiced. Mama Ifunanya and Chisom burned with envy. "How did she do it?" Chisom hissed. "There must be something," her mother replied. "We will find out, and soon." They did. One night, just like before, Mama Ifunanya sent Chisom to the stream. "Do exactly as she did," she instructed. Chisom rolled her eyes but obeyed. When she reached the stream, the old woman appeared once again. "I have been waiting," she said. "Yes, yes," Chisom snapped. "I know. Just give me the calabash." The old woman studied her carefully. "You may choose." Without hesitation, Chisom grabbed the bigger calabash. "This one is better," she said arrogantly. The old woman said nothing. Chisom returned home and showed her mother immediately. They laughed. "This will make us richer than her." The next morning, they broke it together. For a moment, silence. Then, chaos. The calabash exploded into darkness. Wild animals burst out. Snakes, rats, bats, and creatures no one could name. They filled the house with terrifying noise. Mama Ifunanya and Chisom screamed, running outside in panic. Villagers gathered, shocked by the scene. "What have you done?" they demanded. Shaking with fear, they confessed everything. Their greed, their cruelty, their envy. Word reached Adana. She came, dressed in grace and calm. Mama Ifunanya fell to her knees. "Forgive us," she cried. Chisom followed, trembling. Adana looked at them. For a moment, the past stood before her, the pain, the suffering, the tears. Then she spoke. A bitter heart only brings bitterness, she said, but I will not return evil for evil. She helped them. She rebuilt their home. She gave them a chance to start again. And from that day forward, Mama Ifunanya and Chisom changed, not out of fear, but out of understanding. And so, in the village of Amadike, the story of Adana became legend. People told it under moonlight. They whispered it to their children. They remembered it whenever choices stood before them. Because the truth was simple. A humble heart receives blessings. A greedy heart invites destruction. And kindness, no matter how small, always finds its reward. Moral of the story, your choices reveal your heart, and your heart shapes your destiny. Choose humility, kindness, and patience, because what you carry within you will always return to you. If you love powerful African folktales filled with mystery, suspense, and deep lessons, like, comment, and subscribe for more.